Hello and welcome to this taste challenge between Jim Beam Kentucky Straight Bourbon 80 proof, introduced around 1795. Well, this particular version was introduced maybe around 1995. Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey 80 proof, introduced in 1866. Well, this one around 1996. Well, okay. These both used to be higher proof. Jack Daniel's at one time, if you look at the old advertisements up until around the 90s, mid 90s, it was 90 proof and it was clearly stated age 4 years. I think it was in the 80s though, they dropped it to like 86 proof, and then in around 95, 96, they dropped it to 80 proof. They did it without any fanfare. They did it quietly. Most people didn't. Some people fussed about it. Most people didn't notice. And it seems like the ones that did notice didn't really care. The sales actually went up. So it looks like if you look at a lot of liquors, 80 proof seems to be that magic number where you get the largest number of customers. It's strong enough that it's hard liquor, but it's mild enough that it's a mass audience. Seems to be. That's just me talking about. Jim Beam, same thing, used to be around 90 proof. Got dropped down around the same time, looks like, from what I could tell, to 80 proof. It's still clearly stating age 4 years. If you look at the Jack Daniel's websites, it'll say aged until we find it's ready, which to me is saying it got dropped down to around 36 months, 3 years. So this is the #1 selling whiskey brand in the world. I got somebody maybe picking up a green label for me in Beaumont, Texas this weekend. We'll see if they remember or if they even bother looking for it. Oh well. There's also a Jim Beam green label. It's called Jim Beam Choice. Someone said it was discontinued, but they're still showing it on the website. Not on the Jim Beam brand website, but on the Beam Suntory website. They clearly showed you. They mention it being Jim Beam Choice. It's in their locator tool. You plug it in, it'll tell you where to find it. So that's telling me it wasn't discontinued. #1 selling bourbon. Jack Daniel's, they choose to market theirs as a Tennessee whiskey and not a bourbon. They have both been bought out years ago, both owned by major corporations, no longer family owned, as is the case with most of your big time popular beverages. I did a solo review of each one, and I was happy with each one. The Jim Beam was strange, presented some, to me, moldy characteristics, like you could say Spanish moss, a lot of humidity down in Louisiana, so you can pick up a lot of moldy smells. Jack Daniel's, I didn't get that. But anyway, they both use the sour mash process, or as they say in Canada, process. No, I don't want to change that in Google settings. Okay. The process that was started by Dr. James Crow with his Old Crow bourbon, now also rated at 80 proof, by the way. That was in the 1830s, the sour mash process, which is, William Kepley talked about how it's similar in some ways to Kreuzening. And all right, on and on and on. Lawrence Hartnett says, good morning. Good morning, Lawrence. Doomsday Danny says, Jim Beam for the win. You're saying Jim Beam, that's your bracket? talking about brackets, I did pick Gonzaga to beat North Carolina in the final two, and that can be backed up because you can check my bracket on ESPN, and it's still there, public, and I did pick those two. I'm sure a lot of other people did. Lawrence says, I have coworkers who love Woodford Reserve. I've never tried it, so I got to get into these brandies now. I keep putting it off, but so whiskey's gonna take a back seat. There is a gin review coming up to be posted. Zags versus Jags, yeah. There's a versus Tar Heels. There's a gin coming up, and then I'm gonna drink down some of my stash, and then I'm gonna try to get to the French brandy, St. Martin French brandy, and then the Onsac Cognac French brandy, and then the Paul Masson VSOP, and then I got to do some taste challenges, so it's a big, complicated mess. I like Buffalo Trace, says Lawrence. I'd like to go visit their distillery. Actually, when I called them, they said, please come visit our distillery in Frankfort, Kentucky. So that would be nice to do, and it's free. It's a free tour. Same thing as their distillery in the 1792 distillery with the same company in Bardstown, free. Other ones want to charge you. Jack Daniels says this fancy tour. Okay, Jim Beam has a fancy tour. It's like $10. All right, make sure I pour them in the right glass. Okay, JB, JD, Jim and Jack. All right, first we'll put Jim Beam. Jim Beam was not the founder of the company. Made it popular in the 1930s after Prohibition, James Beam. And so they named the brand, they renamed the brand in honor of him. I don't know what it was called before that. It was just called Beam's Bourbon. Okay. Daniels. What about a guy named Jack Daniels? Okay. All right, got my little tasting snifters that I bought at ABC Liquor on US Highway 92 northbound in St. Petersburg, Florida in 2016. When I bought the Vendôme brandy sampler, and it came with 2 little glasses. So that to taste the brandy, which was pretty good. Not great, but not terrible. You know, fair, like a C or a B minus. And then, but I got the little tasting glasses, and I'm always breaking these glasses accidentally anyway, so it's good to be restocked. The appearance. Oh yeah. Well, before I start mixing them, cloudy skies, similar, dark amber. Got some alcohol legs dripping around the sides. Somebody asked me, what's alcohol legs? I thought that was a common expression that just I didn't know, but a lot of people ask me that. I say it's just what's dripping on the sides. I guess you could call it drips. And some of these liquors and even beers have more of it than others. And those fortified wines will oftentimes have that. All right. My father was talking to me yesterday about this Jack Daniels green label. He said, I bought that one time. He said, we went to a dance somewhere. They used to always go to these dances when I was a child. It was for some organization. He said, I went to pick some up. And he said, I asked the guy at the store, what's the difference? Because he noticed the green was cheaper. The guy said, oh, nothing really. My dad said, well, give me the green one. So he said he didn't See where it tasted any different. They were making mixed drinks anyway, so. All right. Got it well mixed. Any more comments? Let's see. No. Right off the bat, this one in my left hand is sweet, somewhat fruity. You say fruity, it's not made with fruit. Yeah. A lot of beers are not made with fruit either. Most beer isn't, but it'll give you those attributes. And some dried flowers. And of course, alcohol. Less sweet, less fruity, more mossy, like the moss, the Spanish moss. In the green wood and the dried flowers. So, uh-oh, I think I know which is which already, but I've been wrong before. Drastically wrong, devastatingly wrong, embarrassingly wrong in the past. Okay, so I think already that the first one I smelled is Jack Daniels, but I don't know. We'll see. Taste, taste, taste. I swear that just tasted like popcorn. You say popcorn, man's gone mad, gone crazy. Well, I'm just saying it's best to go with what first in your head instead of trying to make up something that sounds better on video, right? Tasted like popcorn or grits, white hominy grits. Huh. Not so alcoholic. Medium bodied. Pretty quick finish, dry. Okay, so Tostitos, anyone? Without salt. So that might go well with grits. Ham, 2 fried eggs, medium fried eggs, onions, cheese, coffee along the side. Okay, so that's interesting. Oh, of course, some toast with real butter and grape jam. All right, so not as corny, but some. I want to try that mellow corn whiskey. They keep talking about mellow corn, mellow corn, mellow corn. And I keep seeing it, and they keep saying, buy me, buy me. I keep saying, you got to wait. But less of it. Well, a little menthol, a little paperiness, a little dried flower, and a little green wood. And here comes that moss, that mossy moss. Yeah, I think I know what it is. A little more antiseptic, a little more medicine-y. This guy was cutting my hair yesterday at the barbershop at Doug's on US Highway 190 eastbound, and he was telling me, we were talking about whiskey. He's like big into all of that, and he was saying, well, as far as bourbon, I love bourbon, he said, but as far as bourbon. He said the worst one to try, and I didn't know what he was going to say, is Jim Beam. I said, what? Oh yeah, that's a terrible one. You know, and what he went on and on. It's cheap. It's introductory level. I said, I thought it tasted pretty good. Now these both, I had somebody give me a vial of Four Roses 10-year aged special edition, and he also gave me a vial of Pappy Van Winkle 10-year. Those were much more complex and much more elevated in their flavor. And they're going to be a lot more elevated in their price. You know, like about $150 a bottle for a 750 milliliter bottle. So what do you expect? Now, Lawrence says, John O'Neill says, I definitely prefer Jim Beam over Jack Daniels. Jack Daniels has such a harsh finish. Well, I'm not finding either one of these as a harsh finish. But that's my opinion. I find that Jack Daniels has a kerosene aroma. You know what? I don't have a lot of experience with Coleman stoves and kerosene. A little bit. I don't know. You making breakfast to go with your beverages, says Lawrence? No, because at 5 o'clock this morning, 5:10 this morning, I drank. I ate 2 Pop-Tarts, or it was really Surefine brand chocolate pop toaster pastries, right? You can't call it Pop-Tart. That's a Kellogg's brand name. They were on sale because they were out of date. So 75 cents a box for a box of 6. But this, like CBS News reported, like these out of date things, it's causing major waste of food because it just says Best Buy. And they said, how did the companies determine that? They said, oh, they just guess. It's just a guess. The government says they got to put something. They said you can get stuff that's years out of date. There's nothing wrong with it. And then other things you wouldn't want to mess with it. But I've got olive oil that's 5 years old, said Best Buy 2012, and it's fine. So, but that's what I had anyway. Enough of a rant and rave with Ronald about Best Buy dates on toaster pastries. John and Lawrence says John says, by the way, I love these comparison videos. Keep up the great work. I like them too because it gives you a little perspective on all of them. Bill McIntosh says, good morning, Ronald. Bill, go get your Jim Beam. Go get your JD. Click on if you want to join. Top of the morning to you. Well, okay. I think the one in my right hand is Jim Beam. It's got certainly a clear mossy flavor, that distinctive mossy flavor. This one here. Oh, and by the way, I did figure out what that, because I stopped by that same store that I was at 2 weeks ago. Stopped at a Hammond Quick Stop on US Highway 190 eastbound in Hammond, Louisiana, close to the United States National Guard and Air National Guard headquarters at the airport. And the scotch he had was a 12-year age scotch. It's called Buchanan's. But that little 200 milliliter bottle, glass bottle, with that little bell in it, like when you pick up the bottle, you can hear a bell ringing, which is strange. He wanted, what did he say, $8 for it or $7? I was like, I don't think so. But you might know more about Buchanan's than me, if it's worth it for that. Maybe it might be $60 a regular size bottle. I don't know anything about it. I just know I did a little research. It's been around a long time. That's all I knew. Apparently it's a kind of a famous Scotch whiskey, the Buchanan's 12-year. He just has it. He has really weird things in that store. Like he had the Carstairs blended whiskey, and then he had this gin called Country Club. I almost bought it, but I was like, nah, he'll want too much. I mean, it's been sitting up here for years. He's probably going to want $5. But next time I go, I might tell him I'll give you $1. He might jump on it because ain't nobody else going to buy it, and he knows it. You say, but that's illegal. You can't sell stuff below the state minimum. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he ain't following the law anyway. So you go to these flim-flam stores, that's the case. But you can benefit because you can find weird things in those flim-flam stores. And sometimes you can hustle, you know, you can make a deal. Yeah, they both have a pretty good corn. I don't mean good like it's good to taste, although it's not bad. It's just noticeable. Harsh finish. Yeah, but I've drank too much Camo and too many Melanie Brewing Company beers to really appreciate what that word means, harsh. What does that mean, harsh? People say stuff is harsh, and I'm like, you ever had Jaguar malt liquor? They're like, no. Okay, that'll instruct you on what harsh and unpleasant is all about. When you mess around with that stuff, then you realize what harsh is all about. Go buy some Hartley brandy, VS. I've never had the VSOP, but they used to have VS around here. Now it's all been replaced by VSOP. Probably the same stuff. That's harsh. Get some Crystal Palace gin. Might cost you $6 for a big bottle, maybe $5 for one of these size bottles. That's harsh. Actually, it's not really bad. It's just harsh, but it's not bad. If you drink on it and think on it enough, you realize, oh, this has some quality. Some, like, you would never say a lot. But those, so when you know, when you swim with those kind of fish, something like this is like really good. Okay, I'm going to call it. This is Jim Beam, and this is Jack Daniels. We're about to find out. I think it is, but yeah, Jim Beam. Hey, I've been hitting it. I've been hitting the target. I said from day one, Jim Beam had its very distinctive, mossy, moldy. My grandfather who used to have, he died, but he had, all my grandparents have passed away, unfortunately, but he had this bomb shelter in Baton Rouge. He built it in 1962 during all that scare for the atomic war. But then it became useful because he would store potatoes down in there, and it was always cool down in that cellar. If you go there today, it's like in that shelter, it's cool. He would store potatoes, but they had that moldy smell, and this kind of reminds me of that. And I don't think it's bad. People say, "Oh, that's bad. That's bad." No, it's just unique. Oh, but which one's better, right? You say, which one's better? Okay, I'll call that. Jack Daniels. Heartbreaker. Okay. Jim Beam. And the wind cries Mary. I think the Jim Beam is better. Longer. It's more distinctive with that mossiness. Seems a little higher quality. Now, people say, I'm going to physically attack you, because everybody knows that Jack Daniels is like the coolest thing, because the Rolling Stones drank it almost exclusively on their 1972 tour. I know that. But everybody ain't in love with that 1972 double album either. You'll get it. Some people will criticize it. I don't criticize it. I have it. I don't criticize it, but that's part of the dice when you roll the tumbling dice. Okay. I just think the Jim Beam is better. It tastes better. It has a better flavor. You say, well, you think Kentucky's a better state. I don't think Kentucky's a better state. Okay. I mean, they're both rectangular. They're flat in the west. They're mountainous in the east. They're bordered on the west by the Mississippi River. um, um, okay, Tennessee joined the Confederate States, so they're better. Okay, well, anyway, okay, so, but anyway, I'm just kidding. All right, you say that's the liquor talking. Actually, no. Look at some of the flags I have, but no, but it just has a more distinctive flavor, even with like the base models, and I mean the economy models, like the Beams 8-star. Yeah, I've been seeing more and more Beams 8-star. Yeah, that's the blended whiskey. It's 80-20 today. It used to be 70-30. I might go get some more bottles of that 70-30 blend though, because that shop still has them. They're 12 years old. But even that, which is like a straight up economy brand introduced in 1976, it has a lot of qualities that the other blended whiskeys don't have. Oh well, somebody, how often do you get a tie? Not too often. So sorry, Jack Daniels. I have no skin in the game. I have no horse in the race. I don't really care who wins. So Jim Beam wins. So if you ask me, what would you prefer to drink, Jim Beam or Jack Daniels? I would say Jim Beam. And that's that. All right. So thank you for watching this video production. Let's see what people say here. Not sure about Country Club Gin, but Country Club Malt Liquor is liquid gold, says John. I know. I agree with that. Too bad we can't get Country Club Malt Liquor down here. I'm pretty sure that the bottle said Country Club Gin. So I was like, oh, this is so quaint. Quaint in its, you know. Nate says, I'm particular to Beam. Yeah, I think I am too. Friar Tuck says, what are my thoughts on state minimum pricing? Well, being that I'm a strong advocate for free enterprise, I would not support state minimum pricing. John O'Neill says, would you describe greenwood and mossy as characteristics that you enjoy in your whiskeys? Yes. Yes, I would. Daniel Wells says, I like them both. You know what? I like them both too. I just like the Beam better. Daniel says, Beam is, I think he means here, Beam is $15. Yeah, I got it on sale at Mathern's for $13.99. But it's about that around here, 15 normally. Oh, that's okay. Oh, Beam is $15. Yeah, it's like I said, I got it at Mathern's for $13.99. Some other ones I want to try. Up Times, I want to check that out. An old brand. I want to get the what is that? Evan Williams, and then there's the green label I've seen at multiple stores. That's like their little weird one. All the companies have their little weird one. The Jim Beam green label, the Jack Daniels green label, the Evan Williams green label. You know, that's the ones you always want to try the most, right? The little weird ones. The little child they keep chained in the attic. They don't talk about it. Sometimes you hear some noise in the attic, but that's just the child that got chained in the attic. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. The Bronte sisters, novelists. But anyway, so this was interesting. That's it. 30 minutes over. Next, be on the lookout for Crown Rust Gin, which was special ordered for me. And you won't probably, I'll say won't probably, but you might see another taste challenge, because I could do, yeah. I could bring that Canadian Club back into play. That might beat both of these. Oh, what a thing to say. I'll stand by that. It might beat both of these, but only a blind taste test would tell. Thank you for watching this video production.